What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. It's almost like I do have time traveling info brokers when I tell you guys that when there's a Linkuriboh reprint, there's going to eventually be a spike in price before the WCQ with this card. A lot of vendors already sold out of their huge quantities the moment they got them, even more so after the initial price spike. The reprint brought this tumbling on down to a much more realistic price, but I warned you. There was going to be a point where you guys should hold on to yours or make sure you get one and don't try to scramble for this at the floor of the WCQ or wait too long if you are going to the WCQ. And we see here $45-ish over here and $45 over on eBay. My suggestions to you are, if you have this card and you are not going to the WCQ and you don't plan to play in a lot of tournaments or use your Linkuribohs in a lot of tournaments, get rid of it, as its price will come tumbling back down to earth despite being the higher rarity version eventually. Once everybody has access to it through a starter deck of all things, its price is high because this is the only playable version realistically. It's not crazy that we're seeing this. It was really expected, and I did tell you guys that in the Market Watch where we talked about the reprint. So sometimes the time traveling info brokers do come through with John Moore. Next up on the buyout spectrum, impermanence sitting at 70. That's not the most surprising thing, but again, a lot of us thought it would come down to earth towards 60/50, but it just, being a shorter print secret, seems to be holding in. One of the other shorter print secrets, however, the ones that you have more trouble pulling out of your cases as a pull rate to the rest of the secrets, Nightmare Corruptor Iblee. It's at 38, and deservedly so. You should not be underestimating this card. Being able to lock your opponent out of their extra deck from anything but Link monsters is pretty darn powerful. This card is really, really good. I initially just kind of went at her, and then I was like, oh, and it seems like a lot of other people had that same and then oh, because now she's sitting up at $38. Remember Yu-Gi-Oh! Singles pre-sales? $12 freaking dollars, and they knew the ratio out of their cases. Like, it's pretty crazy that, you know, they're gonna put $12 price tags versus 39 here, 34 over on eBay. So it is quickly cooling down. I wouldn't rush out the door and get these. I'd let them settle a bit. And do remember, we will eventually get those special editions that'll shake things up a little and always bring prices down. But take your time, make smart trades. Don't just rush towards something because it was bought out. Don't think, I need to get it now, it's going to continue to go up. Don't be that way, because this is a pretty big price tag for her despite how good she is. But at the same time, I do think it deserved a higher price than it was at in terms of what it was. I definitely underestimated it. And as we see more top cut deck lists, we see a lot of Spiral Nightmares. We see a lot more kinds of decks deciding how to abuse and use this lady. You definitely do want to consider playtesting at least on Dueling Book with it and feel out if you kind of get why she's the goo. Anti-Spell Fragrance is slowly creeping up on all fronts. We're heading towards Sky Striker format, quote unquote. We definitely have a bigger amount of decks to fight the Sky Strikers with in the OCG. We still have True Dracos. We still have Pendulum Magicians. A lot of people are thinking the impending ban list could really shake things up. It might be minimalistic and only take care of FTKs. Anytime you're talking about a ban list, purely speculatory, especially as we head towards a WCQ. But one thing for certain is Anti-Spell Fragrance gets a lot stronger with the Sky Strikers around, and there's many decks that'll be playing it like True Dracos that can just end up tributing it anyways. So we're seeing actually some OTS pack ones are popping up nice and cheap over here, but the cheapest ultra rare near mints are actually, you're telling me, worth more than OTS supers? Something's a little backwards in my head there. I think OTS Super should be worth more than a ultra rare out of Battles of Legend, but Ultra's technically higher rarity, John. I definitely think that there's something for OTS Super Rares there. So if you're going with it, I personally would go for the super rares myself, but there's always stuff like the DT. Actually, let's see where the DT's at over here. About $8. It's not the worst creep up from where it was at. I personally do like the DT variant a whole lot, being the old DT. If you have the extra money to spring, go for that. But if you're on a budget, the supers, that's pretty good. And we come over here, we're looking at anti-spell fragrance in general, $5 for the Battles of Legend here, before it's $5.50. Actually, do I have them in order? I do not. Give me a second, boys. Let's really check. We got light play commons, we got near mint again. Oh, this is turbo common, not super though, down at a lower point, and we do have Battles of Legend popping up a bit cheaper. Always check both. I actually only pulled up TCG Player and then had it in the wrong order, so I thought it was around the same, but definitely a lot around the 5 mark still available. But this has crept up over the past few months, right? From 230 up because of Pendulum Magicians, a little up because it gets used in True Dracos, and now Sky Strikers on the horizon. You definitely want to consider having this card already. Look at how low quantities of sellers we are on the cheap ones. 19 prices, 11 prices. 11 prices even on the secret rare with all the damaged ones. You definitely don't want to wait, especially if you're going to the WCQ. So, yeah. Speaking of WCQ watch, Skull Dread is falling, and it's pretty much the only one besides Diagram out of the Mega 10 cards falling here. And we see it at 46 now, you know, coming down off of its 55/50 high point, and the rest of them are starting to stick out where they've fallen, evenly matched falling from 60 to 50. We'll get into that in a second. My point is, unlike Borolo Dragon, Saryuja's not in every deck, even though I think it should be. It's an insane card, but you definitely want Borolo in almost every single deck you're playing this format, whereas Saryuja, perhaps not so much. You can kind of skimp on it, despite it being what it is, because Borolo really plows through boards a lot better, whereas this is an extender card, not a power card, in terms of what it can do for you. You're trying to dig for cards to continue your plays. You're trying to special summon after. It's an extender, which is very, very good. But at the same time, Borolo just fits in almost every deck where this card has a little more trouble doing so. It's even cheaper on eBay around the $42 mark. But everything else is kind of evened out. Get it? Evenly matched, even out. $51 here. About $10 drop overall. We see it actually at 49.50s on eBay. Evenly matched is still an amazing side deck option. If you're going to the WCQ, a lot of people are going to be siding at least probably 3 of these if they have access to them for when they know they're going to be forced to go second and just try to take care of a board. We do have Red Reboot now as well, so we actually have some sort of counter in our life for this card. So that's also to note as you're thinking about your WCQ side decks and decks. Borolo Dragon, like I said, it's the power card, and it's actually the only one that after its initial fall has started to swoop them back up. And like I said, this is a card that you're going to end up playing probably if you're in the WCQ. That's around 2,000 duelists, 2,000 copies of these that might flood the market directly after the WCQ. And it's pretty crazy that it is sticking the line so well. We see it on eBay a little cheaper. 53, 55, but then quickly. So only 2 copies cheaper, 1 from Canada, so it would take its time to get to you. I definitely think out of the announced reprint cards, this will be the most chase out of all 4. I think people will want this over Saryuja's, over Evenly's. I think this so far is the announced chase card out of the Mega 10, but all 3 cards, Saryuja, Evenly, and this are very, very chase in terms of people will dang gosh want these more than a D-Barrier and Cosmic Cyclone that are getting reprinted in just a month and a half in a structure deck. So good pick with the reprints. And talking about the final one, Diagram, we'll get there in a second. Ash Blossom, this is just something I want to stress to you guys again, is sitting at 55 for the secret rare versus 47 here on the Ultra. It's much different when you take a look on eBay. We have 42, but just spring the extra money and get the secrets, because if this gets reprinted again, this will be akin to the Gold Ghost Ogre. It will hold value a little bit over whatever the reprint is most likely, unless it's directly in the Mega 10s as a secret, and then this will be even worse. So you want to get the original secrets, just like original secret Ghost Ogre holds value at around 30 now. Ash Blossom might initially drop for the secret rare, but look at this. We actually have a seller of a new listing, $45 our best offer, so 48 total for a secret. Spring the extra money, snipe auctions like these, and I honestly want to click buy it now, but I give you guys the deals before myself. And we have one at 50 as well. So, like, you have these available just for a couple more dollars, but overall, once there's another reprint of Ash Blossom someday, who knows when that is, this will hold way better value than the Ultra. Don't be cheap with this. For your own money's sake, spring a little bit more for the secrets than the Ultras. I can't stress that enough. Now, talking about Diagram here, it's finally fallen below the $20 mark, sitting at $19.50. Not too impressive, you know. It was around $23 on the announcement. It hasn't fallen the most, but it's just a note. A lot of people are speculating that this reprint announcement's going to keep it from being hit on the ban list, which again goes with my thoughts that it could be a minimalist ban list. It could be only hitting the FDKs and a very few things. So you do want to keep that in mind moving forward. Any ban list is speculation. They're your calls. And the same thing with deciding, talking about these Megaton cards. What's in the Megatons, what's not? Remember how high initially after the Wind Witches, the Spirals, how badly they spiked in price? You've got a lot of calls to make. Stuff like Unending Nightmare and Tornado Dragon could be in those same slots missing, but you're playing speculation with a market, which is how you win big or lose big, and that's completely up to you and how you want to go for it. So always use your own big brain. Decide what you want to buy and sell. Don't just listen to me. Think about your actions before you take them. Thanks for watching. This has been another market review, and hopefully you guys enjoyed yourselves. And there's some things going on that are surprising you guys that shouldn't be.